Here at the scene of the crime spree, right behind me.
Vice Mayor Strange, you'll address her properly.
You can kiss my foot.
Mr. Rickard, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson, with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He was served a federal subpoena this morning.
We did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena.
And most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
This is a big, big time in Panama City Beach, as big as I ever remember. Never have I seen a city council prepare to dig up the Gulf and pour stormwater into it to benefit the St. Joe projects in the wetlands about 8 miles north. Never have I seen a council say, if you don't go along with a new stormwater tax, that we may begin an ad valorem tax on 20,000 property owners. Never seen this before. This is big stuff. All at the very time the entire council is being investigated by the FBI. They were issued a sweeping subpoena this time last year. This is big. And weird things happen. You know, we see a former councilman, Ken Nelson, he went up to the city council and walked up to the podium and had another idea for them. He said he's got another idea. Rather than the $21 million being spent to put pipes underground to run stormwater out there, and then all of a sudden, everybody watching the official feed, Ken's gone. Former Councilman Nelson is gone. For like a minute, we didn't hear what his alternative was, rather than putting the pipes under there for $21 million. And that's just for starters. If you don't remember, it looked like this. This was what happened. You'll see the cut. And I want to find out what former Councilman Nelson said, because he's with us. Watch this.
Just a couple of things. I got a great solution instead of putting a $21 million pipe out in the Gulf.
If you want to talk stormwater?
Open it on their plan. Okay. Put it back like it was originally. In 1960s, talking about the medians, how about finishing the CRA in law?
Wait. Did you see that? Did you see the edit there? And this is not the first time Panama City Beach has edited official video. They've done it before. But I don't want to get into that. What I want to get into is, what did Ken Nelson say? Do we really need a new stormwater tax? Do we really need to dig up the Gulf and dump stormwater out there? And by the way, did you hear Mayor Mark Sheldon say, you want stormwater? As though those are the only options. Wait till you see the notice that the property owners received as well. Right after this, I'm bringing on Ken Nelson.
Have you received a speeding ticket for which you want no points placed onto your driving record? I'm El Saline, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
All right, here he is, Ken Nelson, former city councilman. And I am so glad to have you on. We've done this, geez, Ken, when I had a radio show in 2007 and you were a councilman in 2007. We used to do this way back then. Welcome back.
Thank you. And you did unmute me, correct?
Yes, I did.
Unmuted.
Thank you for asking.
Okay. I can remember us sitting on the back porch having a drink, smoking cigars too. But that was
That's
when you were
right.
young in the business.
Yeah, now I look like you.
Yeah, you get old, you got to hide the ugliness, okay?
So Ken, you went up there and you had an alternative. First of all, let's start the story at the beginning. The city is talking about a new stormwater assessment. What is the difference between an assessment and a tax?
Well, first off, it's not new. They're talking about additional. They're wanting to increase the stormwater assessment. If I put my hand in your pocket and grab your money, is that a tax or is that an assessment?
It feels the same either way.
That's right. I don't care what you call it, it's a tax. I fought it since 2006 when they first, it was a 4-1 vote back then. I always voted against it because I felt it was illegal. And I voiced my opinion every time that it was illegal, but it fell on deaf ears.
And so now, though, look, we have a problem, Ken, and this is what Mayor Sheldon said to you before they censored you, before they hid what you said. You said, I got another idea rather than spending $21 million to put a pipe in the Gulf to drain the stormwater. And immediately Mayor Sheldon says, so you want stormwater? So they're saying that they're going to fix the flooding, and we have serious flooding issues. I want to ask you why we have serious flooding issues. And second of all, do you think this is going to fix it, and is it the best fix?
No, it's not going to fix it. As you know, the first stormwater assessment was enacted in 2006. We have worse flooding now than we had back then. Where's all the money been going? Where's the millions of dollars every year been going to fix flooding when it's worse now than it ever was? So
why is it worse now, do you think? Is it the impervious surfaces? It's
the impervious surfaces. It's the developments that they're allowing to go in. The developments are allowing water to go out into the public right of ways, flooding the roads, instead of retaining it on their own property.
And what you said is, and it's what Frank is saying here. What you said is when you went up there, and I'm going to share it. As a matter of fact, let me show everybody what you said when you went up there about the first of all, let's take a look at what they sent you in the mail, and I'll have you describe it. You can talk right over this. Ken, they sent you this notice to increase your assessment, but they gave you 3 options. Go over this for us.
Well, I took personal offense to this because they're elected officials. They're not up there to threaten the citizens of the beach, and they're basically threatening you, saying you either go along with their plan to add, increase the assessments, or they're going to put an ad valorem tax on you and do what they want to, or they're going to reduce the services. And anytime they threaten to reduce the services, guess which services they threaten to reduce? Police and fire.
Yep. The ones they ought to be focusing on first. Notice too in this notice that 20,000 property owners got, Ken, it says these are not mutually exclusive. In other words, they can do all of them if they want to anyway.
Correct.
This is the letter.
You've got to understand the condos. The stormwater tax is prorated among the units, so they would not necessarily pay as much as what a homeowner does. That's on a piece of dirt. It's really, and it started out early on. Myself and Doug Sale, who was the senior partner of the law firm that represents the city. We used to argue, and he said, as long as you didn't associate the assessment with property value, it was not an ad valorem tax. Well, if you read it now, one of them, I think it's the stormwater, what they're proposing was 0.67 cents, 67 cents per 1,000 of improved value of the property. Well, isn't that taxing per the value of the property? That's ad valorem tax.
And here's exactly what you told them when you went up to the council exactly a week ago today.
I don't know why y'all just don't go ahead and say this is an ad valorem, because you have in here where you're charging 67 cents per thousand of improvements on the property. That's the definition of an ad valorem. I'm not naive. I know this city is going to have an ad valorem tax one day. Okay, it's going to come. But it's going to take, as Doug Sell would say, 3 lame duck councilmen to do it as you go out, or 3 councilmen that's ready to fall on their swords and kill any political ambition they had. And that's what it's going to be, because whoever does enact it, that's going to be the end of their political career. But basically what you're doing with the methodology, and I'm glad to see you're still up and around. You know, you look good for a man of your age.
You do too.
But
it's over to me.
But it's basically the methodology that you're using is an ad valorem tax. I don't know why you just don't go ahead and call it that rather than an assessment. But anyway, on the stormwater, it started out at $37.50. Mine went up to $70. Now it's proposed at $122. I have not seen any improvement. As I left to drive here this morning going down Randy Road, if you went that way, water's about 6 inches deep on Randy Road. We still flood on Middle Beach. I have not seen an improvement since the early 2000s when this was enacted. I wouldn't complain as much about any increases if I saw improvements, but we're actually seeing more flooding now than we did back in the early 2000s. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
That is absolutely shocking. When we get back, I want to ask you, Ken, what you were going to propose rather than the $21 million to run a pipe under the Gulf. If you've got a honeydew list or you need some work done around the home or office, call Paul, PCB. He's licensed, insured, and he's a friend of mine. So one more time, this is where they cut you off. What were your ideas? What did they cut off?
Just a couple of things. I got a great solution instead of putting a $21 million pipe out in the Gulf.
If you want to talk stormwater?
Open it on their plan, okay? Put it back like it was originally. In 1960s, talking about the medians.
That's where they cut you off. Put it back to what, Ken?
Okay. Just a quick history. My parents built a house on that lake in 1966. That lake was my playground. I fished
low water lake.
I snorkeled it. Low water lake. I learned to ski on that lake. Prior to 1966, where the outfall is now was nothing but a sand lot. The water ran under the road, across the sand lot, out into the Gulf, just free flow. They used to catch redfish, speckled trout in that lake many years ago. In 1966, then Speaker of the House, Jim C. Baring, and Charlie Hilton put those pipes in, paved over it, and built that hotel over it. My proposal is, instead of spending $21 million to try to fix a problem that was caused, actually it was West Panama City Beach back then. There was no Panama City Beach proper. They let them do that. There probably wasn't a DEP or any environmental agency back then. But my plan is open it back up like it was originally. Let it free flow like it did originally. There's no need. The pipe will not work.
So Ken, let's explain. So the low water lake is just, it's right across Front Beach Road, and then there's the Gulf. You're saying that lake, a dune lake, is one of the few that used to actually flow in and out of the Gulf. And that's how it's supposed to be, and that's how it's healthy. The ecosystem is healthy that way. And they paved over it in 1960, soon after 1966, with Front Beach Road. But if they cut that out and did, had it flowing again, what would happen to Front Beach Road? How would you work that?
Well, it was kind of like a big culvert, what I'm saying, bridge. It was a concrete a bridge, but not, instead of having a pipe, it's just a big concrete opening originally. And in order for Dipsy Barron and Charlie Hilton to build what then was called the Barron Hilton Hotel, they put the pipes in. They built a parking lot and a swimming pool over the top of the pipes, and they ran the pipe all the way out to the edge of the Gulf. It's just bring it back the way Mother Nature first created it. There's a problem in the lake with lily pads, all kind of growth. It needs the saltwater intrusion to kill that. It's just like Lake Powell. Okay, it's a doomed lake. It was originally. Why spend $21 million to fix a problem that the problem was caused, 55, 56 years ago? Just put it back to its natural state, and Mother Nature will take care of it.
And if you look at the picture right above your head there, that's the jack-up barge. In about 3 weeks, Ken, Panama City Beach is going to bring the jack-up barge to start digging up the rock beds of the Gulf in that area, because they're going to bury gigantic underground pipes, and they're going to flow stormwater, not from Panama City Beach only, not to clear up our flooding. They're going to pump in St. Joe development flooding from 5-8 miles north in the wetlands, and they're going to run that water into the Gulf. Do you know how much fresh water, rainwater, and God knows what else is going to be pumped into the Gulf? Their own consultants say it'll create a dead zone. Can you imagine what the fishing is going to be like, Ken, off of the city pier after that dead zone appears?
If you've noticed, next to the lake on Front Beach Road, they have built a retention pond on what I call the old Emmett Jones Texaco gas station. And then it was a Pizza Hut. They built a stormwater pond. They bought that from the Jones family. All the runoff from the Highway 79 project on the CRA will run to that retention pond. The overflow on that retention pond will go into the lake. If you go down and look at it, there it is. That was planned many, many years ago for that to happen. And the whole reason they're doing this is the condo owners don't like that brown water next to the beach. It's just not conducive to tourism. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fresh water. It's tannic water. It's been that since God created the lake.
Actually, a good PR campaign right there with signs and tours would fix that, and people would love it. Tourists would love it. Ken, I think it's even more nefarious than that. I really believe that the St. Joe projects, what do they call it? The up north, Miss Sarah Moon will know this. What do they call that? The segment plan, the sector plan.
Sector plan.
Okay, so the Miss Sarah Moon, help us out here. The sector plan. It's the St. Joe's Bay Walton sector plan. Thank you.
West Bay sector plan.
Yeah, so that gigantic project up there, Ken, I believe that St. Joe is having trouble with development because it's all on wetlands, and they've got to sort of get some of that down and get it out of there. But what's going to happen, and I've talked to water experts on this, is upland, those wetlands, when it rains and the water goes into the soil, magic happens under there, and it comes back up into beautiful blue springs. When they start pumping that rainwater out of there to help the St. Joe developments, and it goes into the Gulf, not only is it going to create a giant dead zone in our Gulf, but it's going to really ruin the beautiful wetlands and the springs, all for more development and more pavement up there.
Well, what the city ran into a number of years ago, and the reason we had to start getting our water from Deer Point, in which that line runs down through 88 and down through West Bay, We originally operated off a well system. The city was pulling so much water out of the wells, we were getting salt intrusion into the water. It's pulling too much water out. Not enough water, fresh water going in, pulling too much fresh water going out. So the city had to go to buying water from the county that's coming from Deer Point and get off the well system. You've got to have that. Well, being I sat up there for 8 years, I saw a lot of St. Joe plans. I've sat up there longer than anybody else up there has. I've seen the plans for St. Joe's development between the Griffiths Boulevard and West Bay Bridge. Several thousand houses are going in. You know, they can fool most of the people, but I've seen the plans. I knew the road was going in. They just managed to be able to sell the city some swampland and let the city build them a road that they were going to build regardless.
It's incredible. I mean, I want to ask you right after this. I want to ask you. You know, nobody knows
So
for sure.
The taxpayer gets the. It just seemed long ago. Now I'm seeing it.
So, Ken, I want to ask you this in a moment. I want to find out what kind of damage this might cause right after this.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at pcairrepair.com.
So when I asked Kelly Jenkins, the engineer for the city, what are the alternatives to pumping St. Joe's stormwater into the Gulf of Mexico, that's really not going to help. Would you agree it's not going to help the flooding in Panama City Beach?
No, because you have too much affluence that's in that water that, according to DEP, what the city engineers told me years ago is that water cannot go straight into the Gulf. It has to be treated beforehand.
Now, they say they are going to treat it beforehand before it goes in, but it's the amount of that water that's going to go in there. But I don't think it's going to fix the flooding issue that they claim it's going to fix. And I worry, have you ever seen this big of a project? How can not one council member, why doesn't one council member ask critical questions?
I can tell you, I'll go back to my length of time living here. The storm surge will tear up what they're going to put out there. I've seen Hurricane Eloise at 75, take a 120-foot barge in 75 feet of water that the Navy had sunk, turn it upside down, break it in half, and move the two halves over 200 feet apart. Now, that sand is like quicksands. Why do you think they have to keep putting rocks on the jetties out there? Because they sink in the sand and go out of sight. The rocks are going to put over the pipe, it's going to sink. The current will build sand up on one side and dredge it out on the other side. And when that thing stops up or it collapses, what are they going to do then? Because there's no way to clean it out.
There's no critical questions. I mean, you've been up there, Ken, and it was a little different then because here's my opinion, and this is just what I see. I can't prove this, but it seems like when you were on the council 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and Doug Sale, the senior city attorney, he would tell you guys, look, here are the bumper rails. This is what the law permits you to do. You can't go outside of here. And you guys didn't try to go outside of the bumper rails. Now it seems to me that the same law firm, but younger lawyer Cole Son Davis and former mayor Mike Thomas, it seems like it's changed. Now it seems like the politicians say, how do we get outside the bumper rails and get away with it? Am I onto something?
You are, because Doug had done that. His father represented the city before he did. Doug has, so much experience. And you could always tell when you was getting close to the edge, he would start rocking in his chair. He would rock and he would rock. And you knew he had a problem. And he would reel you back in. I'm very disappointed in Amy and Cole. They do not have the experience, they just basically let the train go off track and then figure out a way how to get it back on afterwards instead of keeping the train on track initially.
But I'm seeing this in politics from the federal level to the state level to local level, is politicians have learned that they can just do any old thing, any damn thing. And as Hector Solis, a former council member, once said to Amy, how do you know we can't do it, Amy? Unless we get challenged, meaning sued, and a judge makes a ruling, we can do anything we want to do. And that is what politicians, Democrats and Republicans, are starting to do all over the place. And it's up to judges to say no, and it's up to people to stand up with lawsuits against them. And that's expensive.
Years ago, when they used to say, well, we'll just go in and enact an ad valorem tax, the heck with the charter. No, you can't do that. They said, the problem is, unless somebody sues us or takes us to court, we can do what we want to do.
Anything you want to do.
They had plans to go around the city charter years ago. And I'm kind of seeing that happen now, in that if you get the city in so much debt and something happens, then you got to have the courts to give you the ad valorem tax just so you can bail the city back out.
Yeah. And for most of the city's history since 1971, when Panama City Beach proper became a city, the city charter didn't allow you guys on the council to vote for an ad valorem tax. You could put it on the ballot. The people would have to vote it. But the state legislature changed that in 2018. And within 3 years, Ken, already they can't resist. Within 3 years, these guys are already talking about it.
I'm really suspicious on which legislature or which senator brought that up in Tallahassee, because as far as I know, we may have been the only city in Florida that had a ban on ad valorem tax. I can't see where that was just an overwhelming problem with the state legislature that they thought they just needed to change it. I got a sneaking suspicion that was Mr. Thomas may have been behind that back then.
Very interesting. Who knows? All right, Ken. Well, before I let you go, you've told us what they cut out, what your idea was. Will you, for people who have joined us, one more time? This is going to go through low water area, the lake, Dune Lake, that's been closed off and choked up since the late 60s. You would open that back up and have Front Beach Road have some sort of a flyover. Explain again what you think would make that healthy again.
Well, you've seen, it's like down on 30A. If you've noticed some of the bridges down on 30A, they're the same level as 30A, but they have like a concrete culvert, an opening underneath it that's wide. Okay, you could actually drive a aluminum boat or something underneath it, go out. That road is part of the CRA. They could build a suspension bridge with that money if they wanted to, but open the lake back up till its natural state, like it originally was many years ago. And that was actually called State Road 10 originally. And I think that's back in the 30s that happened. And I'm glad to see they changed there. We're going to put the drain on the east end of the lake down, and that would have never worked to do that. Yeah. But it's a mess.
Well, Ken, what do you see? Are you going to be going back to the meetings, or is it over? We got an additional stormwater tax increase. You haven't gone up there and expressed your opinion in a while. What motivated you that much? I was surprised to see you up there, but I was grateful.
Well, first off, that letter, the Barrier Island. Who writes this mess? On the other side of that page there.
Yeah, it said because we're a barrier island. That's like their whole premise. But are we?
No,
Ken, that was their whole premise.
Like
that we were a barrier
tongue
island.
in cheek. the whole thing, we always tongue in cheek that we're an island, out here on the island, because nowhere which way you go, you got to go across a bridge. Well, yeah, you go across the Phillips Inlet Bridge, but that's just a lake. And the Intercoastal Waterway is just a ditch that was man-made. The only real bridge we have is Hathaway Bridge, of course, West Bay Bridge. But it's almost like whoever's writing this thing is the village idiot. And I would just like to know who penned that letter. Did the legal team? Did the consultants? I wouldn't think Kelly Jenkins, and I wouldn't think any of the councilmen would. But I'm just curious on who wrote that letter.
Ken, if you were still on the council and I asked you who wrote the letter, would you tell us, or would you act like all of them and just stare at everybody?
Then I'm 4-1 vote. I'm the one on their sword to tell the truth. I don't like these shenanigans. I've been up there. I know what's going on. They can say all they want about what doesn't go on behind the scenes. I've been there. I know. They can't pull the wool over my eyes.
No, they can't. Ken Nelson, thanks so much for being with us. I'm going to let you go.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you, Bernie.
Good to see you. All right. That's it. My voice is starting to crack. And I think I'm so worried about the Gulf. And now county's talking about taxing you more. Other cities are talking about taxing more. They promised to fix the stormwater, but they're not going to fix the stormwater. It's a slush fund. You're still going to have flooding. And because of more development, you're going to have more flooding. They're lying to you. And I hope that enough people realize it in time to save the Gulf. All right. Thanks for being with me, and I'll see you soon.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.